Okay class, today we're going to be doing Are You Able with the table. So this is going to go even deeper into our exponential functions. So we know that the basic form of exponential functions is f of x equals a times b to the x power, where a and b are constants. Well, we want to explore what effects that a and b have on the tables that are representing the functions below. So we're going to find this out by using a calculator to complete the table. So I'm going to do the work and I just want you to take good notes. So on the first one here, we have y equals 3 times 2 to the x power. Well, if I look at my equation here, I can see that what is my a and what is my b? It's correct. My a would be 3 and my b would be 2. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and note that in the line as provided there. Okay, so I have my a, which is 3, and my b, which is 2. So now I'm going to plug this into my calculator and I'm going to figure out what these numbers are. So the numbers that I get are, and don't forget that during this video, if you just need to pause and write these numbers down, you go ahead and do that. So I'm going to get 3, 6, 12, 24, and 48. So now I want to look at ratio. So ratio is talking about the change that's occurring with each value of y. So when I look at my ratios, I see that to go from 3 to 6, I have to multiply times 2. To go from 6 to 12, I have to multiply times 2, and so on and so forth. So what I see here is that I have a change in multiplying times 2 for each one of my y values. So now let's take a look at number 2. So for number 2, I need to also look at what my a is and my b is. Well, now it kind of looks like the 2 and 3 switch spots. So my a this time is 2, whereas my b is 3. So when I plug this into my y1 on my calculator, I get my value for 0 being 2, my value for 1 being 6, my value for 2 being 18, my value for 3 being 54, my value for 4 being 162. So I want to see how the ratio changed as I progress from my from 2y to 6y to 18y. And I can see that this time each one is multiplying by 3. So let's do the same for 6 to the power of x. Now what is my a here? Because I only have one number, I know that my a would have to be what? That's correct, it's 1. Which would make my b 6. So if I plug this number in my calculator, I get a value of 1, 6, 36, 216, and 296. Making my ratio times 6. So let's look at number 4. What is my a value here? That's correct, it's 8. And my b value would be? That's correct, it's 0.5. So now when I plug in my numbers, I'm going to get an 8, a 4, a 2, a 1, and a 0.5. Note that they're going down this time, which is showing that my ratio this time is multiplying by 0.5 or a half each time. So now let's answer the questions to the right. Where does the a value show up in the table? So if I focus on my a value in each one, where does that show up in the table? My a value on the table, my a value on the table, and my a value on the table. So I notice that the a shows up next to the zeros, or as the value of y when x is 0, or the table contains a point 0a. So there's a couple of ways to write this, so just take a moment, pause the video if you need to, and go ahead and write these notes. Okay, now let's take a look at number 5. So we're going to do the same thing for number 5 that we did for 1 through 4. What is it showing that my a value is here? That's correct. My a value for number 5 would be 100, making my b value 0.5. So if I complete my table, I will have it decreasing by a ratio of half each time. Now let's look at number 6. My A value would be what? 200. And my B value would be 0.8. Giving me again 200, 160, 128, 102.4, and 81.92. Now the ratio would be times 0.8. So looking at the pattern, what effect does the B value have on the table, or where does it show up? Now you're going to see that the B provides the pattern. It's what you multiply by as you move down the Y column or the table, or the ratio between the terms. So take a moment and let's write these down as well. Make sure you take really good notes here, guys. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, now let's look at the back of your paper. So now we notice that we're talking about the function of the form, which is f of x equals a times b of x. So now we're going to make notes and define what the a is. From the previous activity, we saw that a was going to be the initial amount, or the starting value that was next to the 0 in the table, or what we can refer to as the y-intercept. Make sure you know that terminology and that it's called the y-intercept. So let's go ahead and jot this down. So that's going to make the B value the ratio between consecutive terms in the table, or what you multiply by. And note that Y values increase when your B is greater than 1, but Y values decrease when your value is between 0 and 1, when your B value is between 0 and 1, or it's like 0.8 or 0.5. So now let's look at number 7 and 8. The difference here is now I have the table and I want to come up with what my equation is. So looking at the table, I know that my starting value where I have a 0 is a 5. So where do I know that 5 goes? That's correct. 5 would be my A value. And I know if I want to look at how I change from 5 to 20, how would I use, what can I multiply or divide to go from 5 to 20? That's correct. I can multiply by 4. So that means I have a change or ratio of 4. How would I go to 20 to 8? I would also multiply by 4. So that tells me that my B is what? That's correct, 4. And I would write that equation as 5 times 4 to the x power. Now take a moment and I want you to work 8 on your own. Okay, if that wasn't enough time, I want you to go ahead and pause the video so you can complete it before I give you the answer. So looking at my value where I have 0, I have a 2. So that means I know that 2 is going to be my what? Correct. 2 is going to be my A. Now, how do I go from 2 to 18? That's correct. I would multiply by 9, and I would keep multiplying by 9, which makes my B value a 9. So how would I write that equation? I would write it as 2, 9 to the x power. Okay, now I know, guys, we have a couple more problems on here. What we're going to do is I'm going to debrief you over this in the morning, and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to complete this. So I want you to go ahead and take a shot at doing number 9 and 10. But wait for what's in the little bracket over here. Do 9 and 10, but wait for Mrs. B to do write the rule over here in this box. Hope you have a good evening. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.